Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, general law, chapter 30A 18, and the governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, the various boards and committees representing the town of Grafton will conduct their public meetings and hearings via remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted. So that said, Bill, it's yours.
Okay, well, I'll call the meeting to order. We can, as you mentioned, Paul, we can deal with things like voting on the minutes and discussing the common project a little bit later. We can discuss the Unitarian Church's wheelchair ramp first. So you already given us our remote meeting guidelines, so.
Yeah, I think
we can do the quick report later.
Ted and Norm were going to speak.
Great.
Go ahead, Ted.
Oh, wait a minute. Maybe let me make sure that he can speak. May not have. There we go. Ted, if you unmute, you should be able to speak now.
Okay, this is Ted Beauvais. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, sorry
Yep.
about that.
Okay, all right. I could, yeah, it was coming through my speaker. I could hear myself, but other people couldn't. So I'm the president of our congregation at the Unitarian Universalist Society of Grafton and Upton, one of the 3 churches on the Common. We have been looking into making our building more handicap accessible for a number of years. We have had architects, engineers, building contractors, other people come in and look at the building and look at the possibilities for gaining access for people in wheelchairs. The rear of the building does not lend itself to that purpose because when one comes in at grade into the rear, you come to a landing and then you have to either go up a flight of stairs or down a half a flight of stairs. So it doesn't work as far as a ramp location. So that leads us to the front. We have our wide main double door in the front, which is a lot of stairs, and that would be such an elevation gain that you can't really get in people through the front double door. So then there's the doors on the side. We looked at the left side and the right side, and the left side we're up against Apple Tree Arts and pretty tight quarters there. And over to the right, as you're facing it from the Common, we have some shrubs, we have a sidewalk there, we own some land. So that was by far the best location for a ramp, and that's what we presented to you. And it's important to us to be viable as a church going forward, to be able to get people into the building. And it's also important from the standpoint of our values that we're able to be an accessible building. And so that's our goal in trying to do this.
Well, that's perfectly understandable. And, I think it's necessary. So having said that, well, I'm looking for, didn't you send a copy of the drawing of a rendition of what it's going to look like? I can't seem to find it.
Yeah, there was the application for the certificate of appropriateness, and there were 2 attachments that were associated with that. They were plans that were developed by Norm Hill from Land Planning, Inc. There's 2 pages. One is kind of a plan view map, and another is a much more detailed drawings of what the ramp itself would be and the construction features and the footings and things of that sort. And those were provided back with the original submittal in late December.
I think there was an email on the 5th of January, Bill.
I found that when I searched for it, but I don't see any attachment anymore. I don't know why.
Yeah, I didn't see the attachment when you had sent it either. Do you happen to, oh wait, no, that's just your address. So unfortunately, Ted, we haven't seen it. The members haven't seen it. So I don't know if you can explain what it is you're looking to do and then resend it to us. I apologize.
Yeah, certainly. And Norm can help me with some of this too, because he did the survey and design work. But essentially, as you're facing the building, looking to the right side, there's an existing sidewalk that goes in front of the building. And the part of the sidewalk near our, what used to be kind of, it's a kid's playground area on the side of the building.
Yep.
And there's some shrubbery there.
My son went there. I remember it well.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's the area where we would go in and we would install a ramp. And the ramp is going to be, I think there's a run of about 26 feet total. It's a switchback ramp. So you enter in from the sidewalk, which, because of the way the existing sidewalk is constructed, is going to have to be redone and elevated a few inches and leveled to serve as an appropriate starting point for the ramp. And so you'll go in and you'll be facing the door, but you'll do a right turn and you'll go for 13 to 15 feet. You'll come to a landing, do the switchback, and then come back towards the door and enter into the building. So it'll be a switchback ramp. It'll be treated wood. It'll be PVC plastic cladding. And Norm, is there anything you want to add?
Yes, so the structure would all be pressure treated, but then a lot of it gets covered with this AZAC material. So all of the balusters and railings will be white. All the posts will be white. And then the handrail would have to be fabricated because that loops around such, and then that would be installed. So what you would see when this was done, you'd see a new landing where we now have the entrance to the church on the side, on the right-hand side. You'll see the stairs to that landing. And then to the right would be the ramp. And it would pretty much appear all white, the railings and the balusters and the posts.
And you said the ramp is 26 feet long, but it switches back?
Yeah, it goes 13 feet to the right and then it returns to the main entrance. There would be a
Okay.
5x5 landing in front of the existing door sill.
Okay, so how far out from the right of the building will it be situated? How far out will it jut?
Well,
the side of the building?
each ramp would be constructed 5 feet wide. So the turnaround structure is 5 feet wide by 10 feet wide. So it would come towards the street from the corner of the building. It would come forward 10 feet, which doesn't quite fit inside of the existing sidewalk. It would overlap the sidewalk by about 1.5 feet. But that sidewalk's going to be redone to bring it up to meet the handicap slope requirements.
Right.
So how much of the shrub there, about 15 feet or so, would have to be removed?
Well, we're probably going to remove 18 to 20 feet because we might end up with stairs to the backyard just to the right of the ramp.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll also add a set of stairs?
Yeah, I think that's it's not shown on my plan, but I think that's what we're going to do.
So exterior stairs like concrete, or?
We haven't designed them yet. I
Hard
know.
question to answer then.
Well,
Well,
And,
we have access to that backyard from the rear of the building too. So
Right.
so there's and actually, when it was used as a daycare center, really you came in from the rear of the building from the railroad track side into that, and they really didn't want the kids to be getting out of there, obviously for safety reasons.
Yeah.
So if the stairs from the front sidewalk back into that grassy playground area are I would consider it an option. And it would be just a pretty, it wouldn't even be necessarily handicap accessible. It'd just be a couple of steps to get access to that area. And then if somebody wanted to come in a wheelchair, they would come in back from the back of the building to get into the grassy area, the playground area.
And so this is John Morgan. I have a question. Has there been consideration on taking a similar approach to what the Congregational Church did by adding a lula versus a ramp?
We have looked at that, and our situation is such, and we hired John Morrow as an architect to give us some options back a couple years ago. And we've also consulted with some other architects. And the sense we have, and that is kind of a future phase of making the building more accessible, that would be an interior Lula vertical lift structure that would be inside the building. Trying to do things on the outside was deemed to be prohibitively expensive and very difficult. And there's also historic and aesthetic considerations to trying to do that. What we're trying to gain here is basically about 24 inches of vertical gain to literally get in the door to the first floor, which doesn't completely provide access to the whole building, but it provides access to a major portion of the building, to our fellowship hall and other offices and facilities on the first floor, including restrooms.
So the ramp, this is John Stevens, that ramp does not give you access to the sanctuary, just to the fellowship hall, correct?
That's correct. And we do have a television in the parlor on that first level where we do broadcast the services to the first level. We did that pre-COVID. We were doing that for people who wanted to be down there during services, and we would continue doing that. We'll probably continue to do virtual services going forward anyways, but we are thinking in terms of a Lula, but not in this phase.
Would there be a thought of putting a replanting bushes in front of, because I'm looking at just a picture of your exterior of your building, and it looks like your ramp is going to be perpendicular to the building. So if you had the bushes that are there, if you replace them, there would be something to conceal it. Is that part of your plan at this point?
It's not part of the plan at this point, no. Because the sidewalk would go pretty close to the ramp, the new
Right.
sidewalk.
Yeah, so it's ramp, sidewalk, a little bit of grass, and then the road. So there's not, once you get this switchback ramp in there, you've kind of taken up the space where the bushes would go.
So does the, I'm
Is there
sorry,
a way to share some drawings here?
I'm sorry?
Is there a way to share some drawings in this meeting? Because there's nothing for us to look at.
Or
Yeah,
I-
I've been searching and searching. I can't find it.
I
Ted,
know
can you re-email those drawings?
yeah, I can re-email.
that'd be great. So the question I was going to ask, so it's 13 feet long and then it switches back and goes 13 feet back. So is the 13 feet going to be alongside the building from front to back, or is the 13 feet going to run away from the building?
It'll
Towards-
run away from the building in the location where the hedge is now.
It runs parallel with the sidewalk.
All right.
Yes.
And that hedge are the bushes that you're talking that you have to remove.
Yes.
And I think I heard you correctly. You're hoping in the future to add a Lula internally. Is that right?
Yes, we've picked a spot in the front left corner of the church, where very minor work would be required structurally. And there's enough space to fit it in the front left corner of the church. I don't know if you've been in the
Is that
church.
where the minister's office is?
Yeah, you go in that door to the minister's office, and there's room to your left, right in the corner there. There's an
Okay.
area about 7 feet by 10 feet in which the lift is planned.
So you'd have an outside access to that? And
No, this would be the only ramp. So if you arrived at our church, say 2 years from now in a wheelchair, you would go up the ramp, you'd go into the building on that first floor,
okay, yeah.
wheel yourself over to the front right corner, which is,
Mhm.
you'd go through the parish hall and then by the office to that front corner, which total distance probably 50 or 60 feet. And then you could get on the lift to the sanctuary.
Okay.
I just emailed the documents to Bill and Paul.
Great, thank you.
Which email address did you use for me, Ted? Did you have it in us?
For Bill, I used the one I have been using, the Bill NICH2 at Verizon.
Okay, I'm,
And
wait for
Paul,
it to come.
Paul Scarlett is CAPN Scarlett at Yahoo.
Okay, yeah. Unfortunately, I can't open that on my work computer, Bill, so you'll have to.
Should be a PDF.
Yeah, there was, I resent the application and the 2 PDFs, drawings.
Haven't received them yet.
Do you want me to email them to anybody else? I can go ahead and do that.
If you want to email them to my work email, that might.
Okay, what would
might
that
work.
be?
So it's P, my last name, SCARLETT at massmutual.com.
Let's see if that works. They were pretty good sized files, but they should go. It's telling me the message was sent, so let's hope it makes it.
Okay. Keeping my eyes peeled.
There was a 6.9 megabyte of 5.1, and then the application or the certificate of appropriateness application.
It may take a minute because
Yeah, it might.
When are you guys looking to do this work, in the spring?
Yes, we would like to, once we secure approval from you folks, we'll go out and try to find some contractors. Contractor will get a building permit, and we would do the work or have them do the work sometime in April through June. We'd like to have it done and ready for our hopeful reopening in September.
Okay, they've come in, so I'm gonna send them on to the rest of you.
You should be able to share your desktop, Bill.
I'm using my phone.
Oh, okay.
My
Oh,
desktop.
I just got it, actually.
You did, okay.
So we have plan sheet 1.
Right.
All right, give me 1 second. I will
Okay,
share screen. And we want this one. All right, can you guys see it?
Yes, I can.
Yes.
I'm gonna make it bigger for me. All right. I can make it bigger if folks need it. Let's see. Is that
it.
better?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
I can make it even bigger if you want, but you won't see the whole thing. So the ramp actually starts before the edge of the building. So how far out from the building does this go?
Well, you're going to have 12 feet plus 5, about 17 feet.
17 feet.
Towards the railroad tracks.
Yes.
Well, if you're rebuilding the sidewalk, why can't you build the sidewalk, 4 feet out, curve it out closer to the street, and then put in the bushes to conceal this ramp?
May not be their property to do that.
Well,
Well, no, it's the
It
town
is a-
sidewalk anyway.
yeah, it is our property. We could do that.
It'd be nice to disguise it.
Uh-huh.
as much as everyone wants a ramp for, providing access, they don't tend to be the most attractive things, especially on a historic building.
I agree.
Then we could bring the hedge right around in front of it. I like that idea.
There is a tree, when you look at the street view of Google Maps, there's a pedestrian crossing right near where the railroad crossing is. And just towards the common from that railroad crossing, there's a pedestrian. And then you turn left. If you come out from where the existing shrubs are towards the street too much, there is a maple tree there. So depending on how much you're trying to move things, you may run into that tree or possibly damage that tree root system. Also, like Norm says, we own the land, but the town, I assume, certainly for roads, the town has a right of way. Does the town have a formal right of way for the sidewalk? I mean, it would seem like there'd be something that would
They
give
do
them
not. They do not.
maintain a sidewalk across the property.
No, as long as you put back the sidewalk, everything should be fine.
Should be
Yeah,
fine.
Yeah, there's no right of way, no recorded right of way, nothing that's been recorded.
How
Nothing deep.
far out from the sidewalk is the existing sidewalk is that tree? Is it right next to it? Trying to remember.
Well, from Google Maps, it looks like it's about 4 feet or so from the
Paul?
edge of the concrete to the trunk of the tree.
Paul, this is Pat. May I make a comment?
Certainly.
Please.
I can't raise my hand, so so the tree that's in the play yard and the other tree, which is we cut around, that's on the grass between the sidewalk and the street, both of them need some assistance. By that I mean is that we've trimmed them up and we keep taking the dead out of it. We have had an arborist look at them, and it wouldn't be the end of the world if they came down. However, I did speak with the planning board or your town planner in Grafton, who said to me that we cannot cut those trees down without your permission. So I just throw that out there, that if the suggestion is that any of the trees come down, I would like to suggest that that you add in there that it's okay to do it. I'm done.
So this is John Morgan. I have a couple of questions here. Just looking at the design, if you guys own the land that's on the side of the building near North Street, where North Street runs, why can't the ramp hug the side of the church rather than being perpendicular to the church, have it parallel to the church, so it has less an impact on the front visual of the church?
Yeah, there are occasions when we have snow on the roof, and then you get a melt, and that snow slides off the roof in sheets, and it could injure somebody on the ramp.
So as a safety, we looked at that. It was a safety consideration with the steep pitch of the roof and snow or ice coming down from it onto the ramp.
And there are no snow guards on that roof.
No, in fact, I once had my car packed behind between this building and the townhouse, and it came off the roof and dented the hood of my car.
Oh, boy.
I know, it was a bad day.
Yeah, I thought that too, but that's a good point.
I like the idea of
Well,
camouflaging it with the shrubs, though. If we can move the sidewalk out, that would allow
Yeah,
you to do it.
Great. Yep.
What would the railings look like on this, Norm? Is it
They're all
just,
going to be white, AZAC material. All the ballast is the post and the handrails.
so you'll just have like traditional like deck type of balusters? You
Yes,
envision?
yes, yeah, just the square ones, yeah.
Trex is a great material for low maintenance. So
Yeah, the second sheet shows that, the second
I
plate shows that.
I can open that one.
In the upper right-hand corner, you can see the new entrance to the church. And those are all white panels and rails and posts.
So on the bottom left here, this is the existing stairs? Or is
No,
this
right
part-
now,
That's new. You're gonna build.
no, that's all new. There's no landing there now. There are just 2 steps into the door.
So
Well,
that'll be built over those?
Well, Ted and I were just talking about that before the meeting, and I haven't measured the height. We've got that landing being built out of 2x8, and that would be level with the threshold of the door. Currently, the step is down. I would guess it's down more than 7¼ inches, 8 inches. So we might be able to build that right over the existing stone steps. Although not likely, because I see I've got some sonotubes there near the building. So yeah, probably those existing stone steps will have to be pulled out.
Those are original to the building?
I would think they might be, because they're granite, big granite blocks.
Yes, yeah.
Ramps are such
I
a
mean, I
challenge.
got a question here. I mean, I'm trying to look at this drawing and maybe I'm missing something. Is there, you're saying there's a set of stairs to get up onto the ramp? Is that
No,
what I'm
no.
looking at?
No, the upper right-hand corner, that's a cross-section of the new entrance to the church.
Well, I'm looking at the drawing on the upper right-hand corner that shows the stairs with the railing.
Yeah, so what we're thinking is that we want the ramp for a wheelchair or a stroller or somebody with a hand truck, or somebody who just wants to go at a gentle grade. But in order to accommodate people who don't need that ramp to get in the building, we would also have a few steps that would get you up to the landing and then directly through the door. So it allows for both the use of the ramp and a more traditional use of going up a few steps for those who can manage that way to get into the building.
And those steps are what's right here in the bottom left, right?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Which isn't unlike what we've done at the townhouse where we have the center staircase, but then the ramp is off to the right.
Is there any way that that granite step could be used as the first step of the new stairs up into to that doorway?
Repurpose it.
Hey, Paul, can you go back to the first drawing, please?
Certainly.
Thank you.
Easier said than done because I have 3 screens open here. Do you need it bigger, John?
No, that's good. I need to see it.
Here are the stairs here. The ramp is over here.
Yeah, regarding that question of reusing those, I would doubt it because of the code requirements for rise and run. I think they're a little too tall.
It looks, I'm looking at from the street view, and the bottom step is existing granite step is much lower than the next one. That's part of the problem, is they're not even height. So it looks, and I think the total vertical there is what, around 19 or 20 inches or thereabouts. So it looks like maybe one of them is 6 or 7 inches, and then the other is maybe 9 or 10 or something. But they're not even, they're not the same.
But you're kind of getting the gist of what we're thinking, though, is that if there's a way to repurpose those so that they're still a part of the building in some way.
But we thought
Even
maybe
if they're,
we were thinking maybe we could use those for the access to the back, I mean, to the side yard. to the right of the ramp.
Yep. I see the dilemma you guys have. You don't have a lot of options.
Yeah.
No.
And I know you mentioned this briefly, but the opposite side of the front of the building by the old townhouse, did you say there's not room enough to put it over there?
Well, you could put it, but you'd run the danger of having the snow come off the roof. You know, if you
Yeah.
put it adjacent to the building. But if you went out to the left, there isn't room because of the new stairs to the townhouse.
Yeah, there's very, very limited. It's maybe an inch or two less vertical required over there. But to try to get that 17 feet or thereabouts of ramp, plus the landing for turning, to do 17 feet of a straight ramp would be really, there's not enough room because you're up against the adjoining property in the townhouse. And then if you tried to do a switchback, you're really coming out towards the street and the sidewalk. And you also got the access from the nearby handicap parking. So there's access to the right of that handicap parking spot. So and then our property ownership limits and boundaries, it was very difficult. We couldn't really figure out how to do that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, this proposed design really has a pretty significant impact to the visual of the front of the church, which is, you know, pretty important. I understand the issue of the snow coming off the roof. So, you know, I don't know, you know, architecturally or structurally whether it's doable, but, you know, is there a way to even have a roof over the ramp so that if it was running along parallel to the church, it would take the snow issue off the table. I just, you know, just looking at this right now, at least from my perspective, this has a pretty significant impact on the structure and on the visual to the district. So we need to look at this really carefully to see whether or not what other options may be available here.
Yeah, if we could go to the second drawing once again.
Sure.
So if you could scroll down a little bit. Yeah, so if we were to put a roof over it, I think that would have a bigger impact to the view of the building, because as you were coming down North Street, you would see that roof and the ramp attached to the side of the building, whereas this sits down lower to the ground. I think this would have the least impact visually, because if you put the roof on it, that's a much bigger visual impact. Plus, from the front of the building, you'd see that roof, and it's not balanced. The church is very symmetrical right now, and if you put a roof on one side, I don't think that would visually. I don't think that would have what you would want.
You would still have a switchback ramp, so you would still need to start to the right of the building, and then if you're going parallel to the building, you go back towards the back of the building, towards the railroad tracks. You have a landing, you come back, and you've got so it's a double wide, and then you put a roof over it. It's definitely going to look different than the architectural lines of the building that's there now, as Norm said.
Hmm.
How tall is the ramp as configured here? How tall would it be
Well,
at its highest point?
Well, at the lowest point, it would start at the sidewalk, and then it goes up about 14 inches to get to that landing. And then it comes uphill about another 14 inches to get to the landing where the door is. So at the highest point is as you enter the door, it'd be level with the sill of the the door sill that's there now. So, and that door sill's, like Ted said, it's about 20 inches off the ground, Ted?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Brad Schlepak here, because John Morgan, I like John Morgan's idea. I mean, obviously the snow coming off the roof is a problem, but couldn't, instead of it hugging the church,
Yeah, yeah.
couldn't there be like a gap of like 5 feet or something away from the church? Possibly.
So you don't have it right up against the building, you have it out a little bit.
Well, and again, I don't know. I mean, you could argue maybe that if you're right hugging the building and there's snow or ice sliding down, you might be okay within a couple feet of the building that you wouldn't get hit. But then at some point out, that snow and ice that falls down is going to either hit the ground or a ramp. I don't know exactly what those measurements are, but if you do go out farther, I don't know. And Pat, maybe you have a sense for how wide that danger zone would be of possible snow or ice coming down off the roof from the building. How far out would be at risk?
Well,
I had parked my
it's a
car.
it's a
Pat,
slate roof, and so when we get snow, it tends to come off fairly quickly, and we don't tend to have ice dams. In fact, I've never even seen an ice dam there. But when it does come, since the height of the building, it comes a long ways. So, I have to get Don Allison. I have to get an actuary or somebody here to help me. I don't know how far it comes in. You have to tell me what kind of weather it's going to be.
Well, I know I have snow comes off the solar panels on my house, which is has a fairly high roof and fairly similar pitch. And it comes down with quite a bit of force and quite a bit of noise. And there's definitely a zone, 4 or 5 feet from the building out to about 12 to 15 feet from the building where that snow comes down. So I would think we would be looking at something like that. And since it's a double wide ramp, we would definitely be within that snowfall zone. And I think it would require a roof to protect if we were to locate there.
No, if snow coming down in hitting someone is an issue, yes. If it runs parallel to the building, I would agree that some sort of a covering would be needed. I don't think that somebody had asked a question earlier if we had anything on the roof up there, and the answer is no. It's just slate.
However, they do have those little sort of guardrails, for lack of a better term, that you could put on the roof to prevent
There's snow.
Well, I don't
guards,
know. I'm not disagreeing with you at all.
Yeah.
I'm not a roofer, so I don't know.
Right.
I mean, I know they exist. I just don't know with a slate roof. I remember the engineer who came and looked at it, and looked at the timbers that we had and everything else. I don't know. Obviously a lot more work is going to have to be done if we do that.
Yeah, I remember the day my car was damaged. That parking lot that was between the church and the townhouse out back was probably 8 feet from the church. And there was about 1 foot of snow on the roof, and it had melted the day before and then hardened that night. And it came off the roof in one giant sheet, the entire roof. So that roof must go up 25, 30 feet. The entire sheet came off and crushed my hood from my windshield all the way to the nose of the car, dented it in about 3 inches.
Wow.
I know.
I've been up on the peak of that roof. I can tell you it's high.
no doubt about that. It's a big roof.
I guess if this is the design that we have to go with, and I guess putting a roof, if that's going to be more obtrusive, then maybe we need to explore ideas on how we can camouflage the ramp.
Well,
Yeah,
I think by having the shrubs, at that same height, conceal it, and moving your sidewalk out a little bit will go a long way. And if you lose a tree, you can replant it. And I don't think we get to decide on tree removal. And since it's a public, I don't know, on the common, the tree warden has some say so, but I don't know about just a public tree. And
It's a scenic road. I think that's why.
is it? It's
Yeah.
not.
I
It's
think
not
I
a
think
scenic
North Street,
road.
isn't North Street scenic?
No,
No?
no. Uh-uh.
Right. Well, then if it's not scenic,
And if it's dying or has issues, then the tree warden can say, you know,
Hey,
designate as a
maybe
hazard.
Grafton will cut it down.
Right. But you don't want
Okay.
it to fall in your car. That's the other thing. We don't want you to get hit twice.
yeah, no kidding. Jeez. So I guess that's what we'll be looking at, some ideas to camouflage this.
Yeah.
Well, I would actually disagree with that. Personally, I think we need to see some other options. There's got to be some other approaches here that we can look at. I think that has way too much of a visual impact to the church and to the common.
Well, another option is, and I don't know what you call it, but it's similar to a lula that would literally be on the sidewalk, and it just raises up a little platform right next to.
Oh, that's true, John, yeah.
The
I don't know what
vertical
those are
lift,
called, but
vertical
They
lift.
have one at
proposed
the
that for the
old-
library at one time.
Yeah, I mean,
There's
particularly if
one-
this is just going to be an interim step, until you can do a true elevator or a lula.
No,
Maybe
'cause the
that's
Lula
an
would only-
option that John is
Well,
putting up.
the problem with, this was not intended to be an interim step. It's intended to be access to the first level and then possibly going over to the other side of the building with a lula to get from the first to the second level, to get people up to the sanctuary. So it wasn't anticipated that it would be temporary. It would be a permanent ramp structure. An exterior lula, I've seen those. They're usually kind of a lot of metal and then maybe some glass and metal. And it also, I don't know that it would be compatible with the existing granite steps into that entrance, such that, we don't want to force everybody to come into the building to have to use the lula. The lula is just intended it's a limited use, limited access device by definition. So it's not intended to be used by everybody to get in and to get up that 20 inches.
What I'm mentioning is there's one at, I think it's at Quincy Market. There's one at the old State House in Boston, where it's literally, you don't see anything but a metal plate, then it rises up. It would have sides and it just lifts up. You're 1 foot or whatever distance, 2 feet that it needs to go, but all the structure is below grade.
Yeah, the below grade, we have an old granite foundation. So as you go down close to the building, there's the old thick granite foundation, which at one time we had looked at an exterior lula that would maybe service all 3 levels. But the architect looking at that, Mr. Morrow, thought that would be an extremely difficult and problematic thing to do, given the amount of granite that's supporting the structure.
And there aren't any options on the back of the building.
No,
What are the barriers there? I'm sorry.
the at-grade entrance comes into a landing, and then one has to either go up a flight of stairs to get to the first floor, or has to go down a half flight of stairs to get to the basement. So somebody in a wheelchair gets to the landing and then they have nowhere to go.
And there's obviously there's no elevator in the building, is that right?
There's nothing there. It's been looked at some years ago. We've looked at it in the last few years, but there's nothing there. And being an old building and where we're located, as you're well aware, there's limited options.
we'd be willing to move that sidewalk forward about 4 feet and then bring the hedge right around the front of this. So as you stood on the common, you would see the hedge as you see it now. The only thing that would change would be that the entrance stairs would change. So you'd see the new entrance stairs. As you drove up, as you came down North Street, all you would see was hedge. Your view of this wouldn't change at all. You'd see the church and you'd see the hedge down below it. You wouldn't see that, once the hedge matured, you wouldn't see the hand railings or the ramp at all.
Would it be possible for us to meet with you actually at the site sometime and take a
Sure.
look?
Sure, absolutely.
Sure.
That would be good.
Just let us know when.
Yeah, I think that's what I'd like to do. How does everybody else feel about that?
I think it's
Yeah.
a good idea, Bill.
Yeah, and I think we also need a little time to digest and
Yeah.
review this.
And we might
So-
be able to come up with some other ideas, seeing it in person too.
Maybe this
Let's-
Saturday afternoon? Could we do this Saturday afternoon?
We'd like to, kind of keep this project going. We've been, we had our, a fundraiser to raise the money to build it. So we're now trying to take the next step to get the approval so we can keep it going. Because like I said, relative to the mission of our church and the viability of our enterprise, if, with an aging congregation and people with disabilities, if we can't get people into the building, that's a problem for us and our mission and our beliefs. So we really feel strongly that we need this access.
I got you.
Understandable.
I'm available in the morning, you're thinking?
I
on
was thinking
Saturday?
one in the afternoon. I already have 2 appointments in the morning. Could we do one in the afternoon?
I'm available.
Yeah,
I'm not
I could-
available. I'm out of town. I'll be back on Sunday or Saturday night, actually.
Could we do Sunday afternoon?
Sunday works for me.
Yeah, that works for me.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sunday at 1?
Sunday at 1?
Okay.
Okay, we'll meet with you Sunday at 1. Do you want us to have printed copies of these designs with us so you can
Yeah, I'll
look
bring a
at
set.
it?
I'll
Maybe
bring a
just
set.
just
No.
one of them. I don't
Yeah,
feel
just one or
crazy.
two. I don't think, yeah.
Okay, Norm will bring a set, and we can look around the building and mask up and walk around and you can see what we're up against.
Sure, that'd be great.
Thanks, guys. All right.
Okay, great. Thank you, gentlemen.
All
Yeah,
right,
thank you. Thank you, Paul. Good to talk to you.
Yeah, same here.
Very
Take
much.
care, guys. We'll see you on Sunday.
Okay, appreciate your time. Sunday at 1 o'clock at the church.
Yep, sounds
Sounds
good.
good.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thanks. Bye now.
Great.
All right, we should let Jeff do his spiel because he's on the clock here. We're paying him. He's
Agreed.
still there?
On, Jeff?
Floor is yours, Jeff.
Good evening, everybody. Glad to be here. I guess we need to talk about a few things at the Common. With respect to the brick pattern, if a decision's been made yet, and the electric cabinet. The electric cabinet is kind of what's driving the boat, so to say. I'd like to get direction so that I can in turn update the civil plans and then pass those along to the electrical contractor.
All right, so on the brick, everyone has seen what you drew up for us. Thank you. Is everyone happy with that? Where we've got the 7x7 square of the hexagon pattern at each entrance. We have where the next pattern starts. What do we call that? A running bond, is that right?
That's correct, Paul.
So the running bond where that starts, separating the two, will be a 6-inch piece of granite. And we do that anywhere there's a transition. So we have those 3 at each entrance, and then at the intersection of the walkways in the center, there's another 7x7. So those all be the same size and match. And then the existing brick for that's around the bandstand, would also be hexagon, and it also have that transition with granite where it meets the running bond pattern. The only thing that was a little bit different was on the east side where we're going to have an additional brick walkway that runs outside of the common. There you've got the running bond pattern on both sides. So there's actually 2 pieces of granite there, whereas the other ones have 1. I didn't know if we wanted to consider putting that granite on the other side of the other ones where it abuts what would be concrete, I assume, the concrete sidewalk.
Paul, could we switch the screen sharing? If
You should be able to share too. I made it so everyone can share.
All right,
Otherwise, I'll have to dig yours out, which I can do if it's not feasible for you. 'Cause-
all right. I'm gonna try to my end to request remote control. Well, I don't know if that'll do it. Request remote control.
Hold on, let me see. I can find it. Just give me a minute. And
I've got the 3 PDFs that I circulated today queued up
Yeah.
so that when I get access to screen sharing, I think they
should
should
be able to
readily
access it
available.
already. I made it so that everybody could,
Okay, good.
but I can find it too if it's
Okay.
working right. Actually, I think I have this in my inbox still.
I think I've got it here, Paul, if you want me to.
All right, try and see if it works.
Okay,
If not, I found them too, so I can do it.
all right. Well, yep, we're getting warm.
There we go. I can see it.
There we are.
That's the photo anyway.
Okay, yep. This is the PDF I wanted to get to.
Yep.
Which, let's see if I can make it a little smaller. Yeah, this is an excerpt of the plan, but it does show the east side. So now as you explained, Paul, I can better follow.
So yeah, you have the walkway down here at the bottom, and then it comes up, and then you will have the granite, then the herringbone, then the granite. But that's the only one where it does that. So I was just wondering, on the other ones where it abuts concrete sidewalks instead of brick, do we still want to put a piece of granite on that side? Just the only reason I'd say that is because John, you had said, the whole idea of having the herringbone in each one was to create symmetry. So do we want to have the granite to lend to that symmetry?
If I could interrupt for a second, then if I remember correctly, Paul, the north end of this, I'm sorry, I don't have the one PDF that shows the entire brick pattern handy.
Yep.
But I think at the north, we've got a similar situation where we've got a little bit of running bond between the 7x7 herringbone and Millbury Street.
So we would have granite on both sides there too then.
That's my recollection. And
So would there be any issue with then on that one other entrance where it abuts concrete to put the granite on the side that abuts the concrete? That shouldn't be an issue, right?
that shouldn't be an issue. No.
Everyone agree with that
That's
concept?
fine. I don't really have a strong feeling for it.
No, that makes sense to me.
All right, so are we set that that's what we want to move forward with? Because that's what Jeff needs.
Let me just ask, since we're talking about the path, it looks like the electrical box is going to be up. I don't know if that's 10 feet or whatever away from any kind of a path.
We'll talk about that next.
That
Let's just
should
settle
there
on,
be
let's just settle on the walkways first, because we're going to talk
Just
about the
this-
junction box next.
relates to a walkway. Is this just going to be all in the grass? Does that not need to have a concrete, a brick path leading to it?
I would not want to do that myself. I would want to situate it in a manner that we wouldn't have to do that. But
Will
let's
be
just
on the
talk about
concrete.
the pattern of the brick, because that's the issue, not talking about another walkway for the junction box. We'll talk about that as part of the junction box. Is everyone set with how we have the pathways configured? With the herringbone?
One thing, Paul, you think the cost isn't an issue? I mean, obviously they add the herringbone and the granite, it's gonna be additional costs for all these 4 different entrances. But you think we've got enough to cover it?
From what we were talking about before, it seemed like our estimates were pretty
Yeah.
high, and that we
Okay.
should. Is there that much of a difference to do herringbone versus the running bond, Jeff?
I don't think so. I think there's certainly going to be more waste in materials because of the angle and the cuts on each
Yeah.
side.
Yeah.
And more labor, I think, to lay out, but I don't think it's going to be orders of magnitude different.
Right. Okay. All right. So
I'm
we're
trying,
all, anyone not fine with it? All right, Jeff, that's what we
Oh.
want. So just adding that granite on that east side. Is it east? No, west side. Excuse me.
East side, I'm going to add granite on the east side, where the sidewalk, where the brick pattern starts, near the crosswalk. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's the west side though.
No, I'm talking about the east side.
The east side you're talking about by the inn?
Yes.
You're already showing
140?
you're already showing in the granite there.
Yeah,
So
you're
we
showing
want it
two strips of granite on the east side,
Yep.
transitioning into and then out of the herringbone. And on the west side, as you enter into the common, the transition is as you go out of the herringbone. And what Paul is saying is there should be granite as you transition into the herringbone, as
Okay.
well as transitioning out of it. And that should be reflective on the north and south entrances as well.
So all 4 entrances would have granite on both sides of the herringbone.
Okay. Understood. So it's, in that case, the south side is similar to the west side in that the herringbone's up against the granite, up against the concrete. So
Yeah.
I get it now.
Okay.
We'll add a piece of granite on the west side and one on the south side. All 4 entrances will have 2 pieces of granite, one on each
Perfect.
side of the herringbone.
Perfect. All right. Now we can talk about the electrical junction box. So before we even talk about that, I called Bob DeToma, and because the cable folks are the ones that need access to that mostly, and it's when they film there. He says they very, very rarely film there, and even when they do, they have to have help from Charter, I guess, has to come out. They can't do it themselves. That being said, they do still want to have the ability to do it. They said as long as you have it within a reasonable distance, and he said anywhere on, by the east entrance or the west entrance would be fine. They can run cable if they need to from those locations. So if we're not comfortable with situating it in the middle like it has been, it was in that picture that we were just looking at a moment ago, or we're not comfortable with moving it where Jeff is showing it here. That's just one of the things we need to consider.
So Jeff, I got a question for you. It's John Morgan.
Okay.
What do we have for gear in those boxes? I mean, what are the guts that are in those? That box? It seems like an awful lot of gear for what's up there, but I'm not an electrical engineer, so.
And John, nor am I, so I have no idea what's in there for gear. Let me switch. I'm going to switch the screen to the photo and see if I got a better picture of it. Nope. So right here in the green box, that's the electric that drives the common, and I believe in there is also whatever is being used for video. And then lastly, somewhere maybe in there is also maybe there, if not close by, is a something that runs the sprinklers. And that's my general understanding of what's in there, John. Now, if I could get back to Paul's point for a second, Paul, I thought I heard that right now the fiber optics people are trying, I need to connect in here in order to do their video work at the common. I'm
Yeah.
thinking if we go to a remote location for this distribution box, perhaps we could bring a conduit out of the distribution box to like a secondary location, perhaps near the gazebo, where connections could be made into the video equipment. So they don't have to run a long extension cord from wherever the cabinet ends up being.
Yeah, he said, attaching cables is not a problem, that they have plenty of them, but I suppose it creates a tripping hazard and whatnot
Understood.
when they're doing it.
Okay. And if anything during the project, there could at least be a spare conduit laid in the trench when the trench is open from the cabinet location to the gazebo, even if nothing's put in it right now, it's available for a future connection of whatever the conduit needs to be. It's not uncommon to run spare conduits. It's basically the cost of the conduit and the labor to glue it together.
That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
There's no tree issues there. All the trees
No.
came down. This is a question for you, and you may not know the answer, but we do have that new pole there. Is this
Yes.
something that could be mounted on that pole?
Absolutely not. Yeah, it's got to be, the pole is owned by the utility company, National Grid, and they won't allow anything like this to be located on it. So I'm gonna
okay,
go
good.
back to the other screen we had. The intention, the new pole has been installed. It's right here. Can everybody see that hand wiggling around all right?
Yep.
Okay. There's a guy wire that's into the ground right here where the crosshairs are. And so one thought was, the existing box is here now, and the plans we did in September called for the box to stay there. Paul, you were circulating an idea of putting the box over here. And in speaking with Shepherd today, the box is proposed to be 5 foot high because that's a standard height. Hopefully tomorrow we'll have more information on the cost of manufacturing a 4 foot high box. It's only 1 foot shorter, and it would be a specialty built item. So the question becomes, how much more? Is it, trivial or is it significant?
And it's 4 feet low enough that it would be below the railing. One thing we should do on Sunday when we're up there is measure the height of that. I don't know what it is.
And keep
I don't
in
think it'd be
mind,
4 feet.
we're talking a 4 foot box or a 5 foot box. In either case, it's going to sit on a concrete pad that's got to extend about 6 inches above the ground.
Yeah.
So we're looking at
So
4.5.
4.5 to 5.5.
You got it. You got it.
And there isn't an option to have the box be longer and then have its width be longer rather than the height? Do they all have to be 5 foot, or can they be short and long?
Good question, John. I meant to talk to John Shepherd about that in more detail this morning. We did have a discussion about that a week or two ago. It's my understanding that the circuit breaker panel needs to be a certain height. I don't know what that height is. And it can't be too low to the ground, so that drives the height of the box.
Yeah, makes sense.
I think the best bet is to have it away from the bandstand.
I agree.
Yep.
Because there's a good chance they're gonna want to put a wheelchair ramp on that bandstand,
Good
and
point.
the box will be in the way.
Okay. And this is convenient. I'm going to go back to the photos in a minute, but this is convenient because the power will be here. There'd be conduits coming down the pole underground to this panel. And this panel, the power would come in. There'd have to be a meter socket on it somewhere for the electric meter. All the other controls from the existing box would have to be moved over here. New electric circuit breaker panel would go in it. And then from here, we distribute power out to all the lights, to the gazebo. In the gazebo, the junction box is over here on this side. So my thinking is rather than do anything extravagant, this is going to be all excavated anyway. So let's run conduit from here around and over to the box
Yeah.
to continue to use the wiring that's on the gazebo. I know there's.
Hey,
there was
Jeff,
talk-
do you know, and this is going to be a really crazy idea, but I'm going to put it out there anyways. Do you know, code-wise, does the cabinet, can it be enclosed in a structure?
You mean like a wooden structure or something like that, John?
Yeah, and what my thought is, and again, this is just popped into my head, and so it's kind of crazy, but I'm gonna put it out. They have been saying that they wanted to put the old fountain pump, the pump hand, you know, the water trough, I'm trying to remember what the heck they call it. That
Water
the fire
fountain.
department, you know, refurbished.
Yep.
Could we build a structure that could house the cabinet, but then have the pump handle or the fountain handle, whatever that thing is, set on top of it? So that now it's up, because we were concerned about just putting it on the ground and having people walk into it, et cetera. But if it's elevated, maybe, you know, that solves that problem, and then we can disguise the cabinet as well. I don't know. I mean, just
So
a
how
crazy, just a
elevated
kind of
would
crazy
the,
idea.
how elevated would the fountain be sitting on top of a 5.5 foot tall?
I don't know. I mean, it
Structure?
depends upon how short we can get the box.
Well, it
I
sounds
am
like it's
very-
going to be 4.5 to 5.5 feet. So that'd be pretty high.
I am very leery of putting anything with water above electrical equipment
It won't be
Well, no, it
water
doesn't
in
have
it.
water in it. It's just,
Not
it's
gonna
just
work.
it's an old feature.
until it rains out.
Yeah, and then it fills up. Yeah. Well,
So
we'd have a roof on it.
No, but I think that's not to put it on the roof like a weather vane, but to have one side of the platform have the water trough, and the other side have kind of a this box structure, but
Mounted
have
on the back of it.
right, but to have
So it-
some kind of a little mini bandstand, whatever you want to call it. Somebody that's clever come up with an idea to make a little house for it, for lack of a better word.
We're running out of time to come up with clever ideas, though, guys.
I was gonna say, we're up against some time. So if I could, let me take a minute and just run through a couple of photos that I have. And then let me give you a plan C that I only sent to Paul just minutes before 5 o'clock, because after I get done preparing what's in front of you here, and thinking back to my conversation with John Shepherd this afternoon, I had some stuff that I could gather up and give you a visual on Plan C. But first, let's look at the photos for Plan B.
Before you move on, Jeff, for 1 second, where is the fence in all this? I'm just trying to see where the fence line
It's
is.
very faint, but it's right here.
So you're talking about putting this thing just inside of the fence?
That's correct. My
Okay.
thinking was to put it inside the fence far enough that we could put some shrubs around the backside and leave the side with the doors that swing open without shrubs over here.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. And if I could go to those photos, here's the new utility pole over by the common.
Yep.
So the box would be behind the green trash barrels, but in front of the utility pole. And I think the crosshairs getting us about halfway up to the window pane, top window pane. I don't think the cabinet will look any higher than that. And it might even be a little bit lower to about that height, looking from this west entrance. If I could move to another one, here's a photo I took. And again, it would be, the cabinet would be behind this bush because this is nearer the gazebo, but would be in front of this utility pole here. And then lastly, here's the new utility pole, here's new guy wire. It would be over here, and it would be, there's plenty of room to wiggle it around. And my thinking was to not crowd the bushes against the fence rails, leave a little bit of room, then have bushes and then the cabinet behind it. And if I could go back to the first photo, I'm sorry, first photo. If one was sitting over here and the panels here, I don't think it's going to block the visual if anyone cares to look down Upton Street, and it certainly
Right.
won't block the visual to the library.
Right.
It will be in view if you look at the Grafton Inn.
Yeah. Well, it's got to go over there someplace. So that looks like an appropriate or acceptable position for me anyway.
Okay, great. Thank you, Bill. And from the perspective of bringing power in, it's probably the easiest way to bring power over to the
Yeah.
to the cabinets.
Does easier mean cheaper?
Yes.
All right, I like that.
Sure.
Yeah. But then let's talk about Plan C for a minute, just because. This is an old survey plan that we did back in 2011, before all the different common projects were coming forward. This was an existing condition plan that goes back to 2011. And again, that was even before the townhouse project, because we've since updated this plan based on the townhouse project. Then there was the work in front of 2 to 10 Grafton Common. And then, of course, all the curb changes and such a few years ago. So again, this reflects quite a ways back, but nevertheless, we were just talking about this area over here. But it got me to thinking, well, Shepherd Engineering said, well, can we come in on the west side? And if you want to, depending on where your preferred visual prominence is, if it's the east side, the west side could make sense. This utility pole here in front of number 28 Grafton Common has secondary power coming from here up near Millbury Street as far as that pole. And that's it. It's got an overhead wire going over to this pole right here, but that's some kind of telecommunications or video or charter or something. It's not electrical power. So that pole is out, but this pole has secondary power, and it might have some merit to bring power from here over to the common and put the utility box here on the west side of the common. Keep in mind, we've got to get power across the west side of the common. So it's either overhead and a new utility pole here, or perhaps underground, come down this pole, come across the street, a lot more money, and then feed right into this cabinet and power up from there.
Hey, yeah, Jeff, this is John. Do you know what the, by code, what the clearances are for when the cabinet doors are open? What sort
No, I
of
don't, John.
footage they need for clearance?
Yeah.
Because just going back to modify my crazy plan, if we put the cabinet where you originally proposed and we screen it from the road side with bushes, maybe we can screen it from the interior common view by installing that that refurbished water fountain, which has no water coming to it. It's just a decorative piece. We put it on a pad. It's in front of it with enough clearance. We, put some bushes or plantings around it, so we're at least screening it from the view from inside the common, and we'll have screened it from the view outside the common with the bushes.
Gotcha.
I think that's a good idea.
From my
You could use the same concept, putting it where he was talking about by the east entrance.
Yeah, absolutely. Either one.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think that may be the better location. I think it'd be too crowded in the center for that.
Yeah, my advice, not from a code perspective, but just common sense and use of that, is you got to leave the doors accessible enough to get somebody in there so that they can work and open the doors and work.
Yep.
Yeah,
But you've got-
there'll be something in code that says you need X amount of feet.
Yeah.
There probably is. I'm not familiar with it, but my point is, there's a lot of real estate over there, and you could put the fountain or whatever it is quite a ways away, still block a visual from the gazebo and leave enough room to access into the cabinet, electrical cabinet.
So Jeff, what do you need from us tonight? I mean, the location of the box is what you need, right? If we put a doghouse over it or something like that, we could do that later, right?
Agreed. I need the location so that I can finish up our civil plan and then get it over to Mr. Shepherd, so that my goal is to have done all the coordination as far as relocating, Bill. Just so we can get this thing moving.
Yep.
Do we have to decide if the power, if we do it on the west side, is underground, or if we add a new pole? Do we have to make that decision tonight?
If we're gonna come from the west side, we're gonna have, I don't know if we could make that decision tonight, but we could at least, if I knew what the desire was, I'd at least put the plans together that way. And when Shepherd does their work, if they see any problem, they could speak up, and we could have to work through those revisions pretty quickly with coordination with you fellas.
I just want to offer my 2 cents on a couple points here. So coming in on the east side will be far cheaper than coming in on the west side. It's also, to come in on the west side, you're going to have delay in finalizing things. We've already got work going on over on the east side. So to me, it makes sense to go the cheaper route, where we know we're running out of time here, guys. We need to finalize things, and to open up another keg of worms or can of worms, whatever. I don't think we should be doing that. It's my opinion. The other thing is, I'm thinking, I like John's idea of incorporating that fountain. I think that is the place for it. It actually used to be a little bit further up, but it was in this area of the, it was on the outside of the common, but it was in this vicinity. So I think that's a good location for it. I don't think we need to, include that in what we're going to be going out to bid for. It seems like making a pad would be a relatively small piece. If we have money left over from what we know we're going to spend, then I say we just do that and do it after the fact and get that in. That's just my thoughts here.
I agree completely.
Also, one other point is, I think it's more pristine on the other side of the common, the west side. And so that view to me is more pristine, because you don't have the road coming through as much. It's more of a secondary road. I just really wouldn't want to have the junction box spoiling that view.
I wouldn't want to put another phone pole either.
No, that's another good point.
And of course, there'd be an overhead wire where one doesn't exist on that west road.
Yeah, that could get nailed by a tree limb coming down or whatever. I think we need to keep it where it is.
Okay.
I mean, we're on the eastern side.
So John, you should explore this crazy idea of yours. And
Well, it's not so crazy now. It's just, it's basically putting the fountain back onto the common.
Yeah, and just that will help to camouflage, because you're kind of, the eye's going to go to the fountain instead of the box.
Yep.
Right.
What color will this box be? Will it be like something that's not obtrusive? Like,
Should be green, isn't it?
I
Aren't
think
they
it'd be
green?
great, right?
A lot
we
of,
have a cho-
for durability, could be stainless steel, and it probably will be stainless steel.
not
I'm
shiny though.
Yeah, but I'm thinking it'd be a great place to put a mural.
Paint it. and
Paint
put
it.
in. Are you allowed to do that?
We could paint horses like they're waiting to go to the fountain. How's that? Or buggy.
It could just be graffiti and it just happened.
Yeah. We were responsible.
Question for you gentlemen, where is this fountain or a trough, or whatever it is, where's it located now? Is it visible?
It's in the lobby of the fire station.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
they've been wanting, it was
Main
restored several years ago. The gentleman that restored it unfortunately is no longer around, and we really would like to have it out there. But we're just afraid of people, climbing on it and getting hurt and whatnot. So
Yep.
That's where the crazy will have to meet some thought to figure out
Who
how to
restored it, Paul?
say that again.
Who restored it?
I've forgotten his name. He was one of the volunteer firemen.
He worked for DPW.
Oh, DPW.
What was his? I can't remember his name.
I
right
didn't
now.
know him
Nice,
personally,
really
but it
nice
was a very
guy.
sad story.
Oh.
It was an unexpected situation. And very sad.
But that's where it is, Jeff. If you want to look at it, it's in the lobby of the main fire station.
Thank you. Okay, well, yeah, I'll try to get there. And just throw my 2 cents out. If there's concern of people climbing on it, very valid concern. If it can't be securely anchored and strong enough to withstand people climbing on it, perhaps a wrought iron fence of some sort around it, as long as there's no impalement hazard on the fence.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah, we'll have to look into this. All right, so are we all in consensus then that we put the box where Jeff has proposed towards the east side? And that far enough
Okay.
away, so we're gonna put a shrub on one side, and then, we'll explore
Yep.
putting in the fountain and the pad and whatnot.
Looks good to me.
Good to me.
Yeah, I'm good with that.
All right, what
Excellent.
else, Jeff?
Thank you very much. Now I've got to go like hell and work.
So
Okay,
that
anything you
leads
need?
to a question for you. What is your timeline now? We've got a new town administrator coming in February 22nd. I was
Okay,
talking with Andy today. We rather not, he's going to be caught up with a lot of other things when he gets here. We'd like to get that RFP done before he's here,
and what was that date, Paul?
February 22nd, and we've got to prepare it and whatnot.
Excellent.
So we'd
Um,
like to get out, long before, if the sooner the better. Our original goal was the, end of January.
Yeah, and I don't think we're gonna make the end of January, but if I can get my revisions, at least not all the construction details, but at least anything on these plan view sheets done by about Tuesday and over to Shepherd by Tuesday, he might have it for me by the end of the week. And that's good, because what I'd like to do is have a full set done and circulate it to you gentlemen. I can't commit to the end of next week, but with a little luck at the end of next week, so that you have some time to look at it in case any other tweaks want to be done, and then get it, so we're talking maybe first or second week of February, Paul. That and the technical specs all wrapped up. And I think that's a realistic schedule, but I'd like to try to make it sooner rather than later.
Us too. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that sounds workable. Thank you, Jeff.
Awesome. Thank you all. And I will be going through all the emails about the other things in the next couple days to make sure that I'm straight on the changes to the electrical fixtures. Make sure I have a nice visual of the arch structure that I can put onto the drawings. So I might be in touch with you, Paul, if I know you sent me quite a bit of stuff and I have it all set aside, but just in case I have trouble or a few questions, I'll be reaching out to you.
Just so they know, those renderings are very loose. Those were done by Nick. And they showed tubular aluminum. We're going to actually use square stock, which
Okay.
is more in line with what it was originally. So just so they know, it's just gives them some reference, but it's not.
Yeah,
completely
and what
accurate.
I'm trying to do there is not do a typical construction detail like we would do for something civil, like a catch basin with every little thing, and this is it. It's more to give them a visual and an idea, and then I've got to tighten it up with the notes about contacting Watt Iron Works or whomever, and
Yep.
that's where I got to get a little creative about how to make it look and communicate to the contractors exactly what they're supposed to do when they bid it.
Well, if you have anything you need a second set of eyes on, I'm happy to help.
Thank you. I'll probably be reaching out to you for that.
Okay.
I think I'm all set here, gentlemen. Anything else for me or?
No,
Thank you very
I think
much.
we're good. Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it. Sorry you had
Have a
to
good night.
wait.
You're welcome, guys. It's been a pleasure working with you all. I will
Same here.
be in touch.
No, you're not done yet.
Yeah, no running away yet.
No. We got a fountain to take care of.
There you go.
All right.
Sounds
Thanks
good.
again, guys.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Jeff.
Oh, Jeff, unshare the, so
Gotcha. Whoops. Am I still here?
Yes.
Okay, stop share.
Perfect.
go.
Thank you.
Good. Thanks,
Excellent.
sir.
Have a good night. What's left
Thank
of
you,
it.
you two guys.
All right.
Well, that's good.
Before I forget, because we may be apt to, can we jump to the minutes? So you can,
Sure.
because we've got the 3 sets that were approved before. I haven't sent those to the town yet. I had frankly forgotten that we had approved them until I was doing the minutes from our last meeting and saw that we had. So I have those 3 and then the one from November and then December. So we'll have 5 sets that we need to send, and they've been way behind at the clerk's office anyway. So I have,
Yeah, they
you know,
won't.
yeah, it takes them weeks to get back to you now.
You just want to do them as a group?
However you guys want to do it, whatever's easier.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, let's do it as a group. I noticed something on the most recent, the December meetings. That's the only thing I noticed.
Okay, what's that?
So the 6th bullet point down, you get past that first paragraph, and you go down to the 6th bullet point, and there's just a couple words that were repeated.
Okay.
The 3rd line, it says of the,
Okay. So remove redundant words.
small thing.
That's all right. We'll fix it.
Well, that's something John Stevens usually picks up on.
But I was waiting.
He's been slacking
kinda
lately. So
disappointed in the
I wanted to
professor.
give, I wanted to give you, I think you guys a little chance to do some of that. I felt like I was hogging it.
It's the only thing I noticed.
all right, someone want to make a motion then?
So move.
I'll second it.
Meetings.
Who was the second?
Me, John Morgan.
Thanks, Jim. Any discussion?
No discussion.
All those in favor?
I
Say aye.
Any opposed? Call it unanimous. All right, thank you guys. All right, do we have anything else on the agenda?
We do not, because we've already spoken about the handicap ramp. And I thought maybe Brooke might have put in an application, but I contacted Paul Cook, and he didn't.
I think Brooks out of town.
He's in
Is it-
Jamaica right now. I know because my kids are taking care of his daughter's dog.
Okay, so that explains it. So anyway, we didn't get an application. So, so I think we're all set. We've accepted the minutes. We've spoken to the folks at the church. We talked to Jeff. There's nothing new on the library that I'm aware of.
Could you
I have
fill
a
us
question.
in
I have a
on?
question on the library.
Yeah, I do too. So you go first, John.
Yeah, I have a couple things to
Thank
say
you.
about the library as well.
Yeah, as I recall, and I could be wrong, but as I recall, I thought Andy said that all of the air conditioning equipment was going to be located behind the parapet, so you wouldn't see it. And when you walk past it now, the air conditioning equipment is on the roof, but where the Petula building, the houses are, and they're sitting up on platforms on top of that.
It may
So
not be
they
in yet.
really stand out. I don't know if that's temporary or what the deal is, but if that's permanent, it looks terrible.
I don't think they're installed. I took a tour of that after the holidays, and nothing's installed inside there. It's very rough. So, and the stuff may be there and just, stored up there right now.
There's store, yeah. If there is storing it, that's fine. But it looked like more than just storage to me. But it's worth asking the question.
Right, absolutely.
Next time you walk by or drive by, slow down, take a look.
Well, I'll be up there Sunday, so we can look.
Yeah, well, we all look it on Sunday, I guess. Yeah.
We have a meeting, library has a meeting first Monday of February, I will ask. And I do think that is the plan, that the exterior equipment is on the roof of the new addition. I don't know how screened it's going to be, if there's supposed to be some kind of screening in front of it. But I'll definitely bring it up. I'll ask. We just had a meeting last night. We'll have another meeting next Tuesday with the subcommittee, and the architect usually attends. I can ask then as well, and if he's there, I can just pass along kind of an interim email to say temporary or no, that's permanent, but say, there needs to be some kind of screening, because this was not our understanding of where it was supposed to be.
I mean, there was a lot of different discussion over the months. But I just, in the back of my mind, I remember discussion of having at least the majority of the equipment being hidden by that, I think he was calling it a parapet, the brick section that kind of flares to the, at the top on the front side of the new entrance. And the whole idea was it was all going to be, screening that equipment.
Right.
So I was surprised to see, and it's quite a bit up there, actually. I counted at least 6 units up there, so
Yeah.
it's worth asking about, because it sticks out like a sore thumb right now, anyways, from the front
Yeah.
view.
All right. So John, you'll bring that up.
Yes.
My question is for Bill. Bill, did you attend that meeting where they were talking about the lighting?
I did. You mean the lighting out in the parking lot? We can't do much about. He says there's all kinds of code requirements for, the number of lumens and so forth. But the ones on the actual building, he thought we might be able to come up with something that was more colonial or more traditional looking. And I don't think we've heard anything about that since.
I would think that no matter what the style of light, they could get the lumens they wanted. It seems like kind of a cop out to me.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that one, Paul, because you see,
You see them everywhere else,
the
right?
antique lighting in parking lots all the time.
Yeah.
So
I think the problem is like the problem with Unitarian Church when they bought the windows to replace in the sanctuary. It's after the fact, and they've already ordered, and I think Andy said this at a meeting recently. The lights have been ordered. I don't know if they've actually been delivered. So it's like kind of like it's done.
Yeah.
So
That's
it may be
unfortunate.
that you could have gotten a more appropriate light, but I also think that this is because the architect, they kind of just drive along, and unless you really know where to pull the reins, it's hard to slow them down.
Yeah.
And there are things that if you want done, it's like, oh, it's too late. And it's like, but I didn't know before to tell you no.
Right.
Okay, can we get a confirmation on that?
Yeah, it's a pretty big design.
Because when we talked to Andy, he was telling us that he thought the lighting, at least that was going to be attached to the building, had not been ordered.
No, I'm talking about the lamp
Parking lot.
posts. The lamp posts have been
Parking lots.
ordered and may be delivered.
Mhm.
The building lights, I don't believe have been. So the
I think we should
building,
get confirmation on both,
okay.
personally.
I can email when we get through, because otherwise I will totally forget all of this. I'll just email Andy, because Andy will know the answer to it as well.
Okay. But you think that we have the ability to do something about the lights on the building?
He
But-
knows
Right.
we do, and Andy's going to look out for us. I think if that were the case, but they also haven't brought stuff up to our committee to say, what do you want? What this is what we're actually, they did propose real modern looking stuff, and it seems like it's been 2 months ago, but I don't think a decision was made.
Yeah, so we need to push them on that, or they're gonna order that, and then we're gonna find we're stuck on that too.
And unless somebody else has something else they want to ask, I need to, they had a proposed sign, exterior sign, that they're planning, depending on funding, I guess, if there's money or not, or how much it's going to cost, to put it, it would be near the railroad tracks. And it was an oval type sign on, they found, I don't know if it's a granite stone, some huge stone that will raise it up so it won't have an issue with snow plowing and that sort of thing. But it'll have 2 posts and then a large oval sign that just says Grafton Public Library. And I said, you know, you have to have this approved by not only the historic district, but also theoretically the building inspector. So Andy said yes, yes, yes. And the architect said yes. So they know that. I don't have any idea they were going to, I guess, submit it to whomever to put whatever together for pricing. And so that is something that'll be coming to us.
Good.
All right, so we'll wait to hear from what Andy says.
What was Bill, what was the grand landscaping plan? Did you go, you went to that meeting, right?
I think if we discussed landscaping.
There is a group of people. I think you did go to it. I wasn't able to go, and I think somebody went from our committee.
Yeah, it was back in December.
There are people that are wanting to give money to do a lot of things. So Andy is real excited about what it is that they're going to be able to do. And I haven't seen details. I don't think they have details yet, but there's funding to do a lot of things that otherwise, you know, because they've ripped out everything. All the landscaping's gone.
Right. Yeah,
Tell of a large grant.
somebody donated, like, it was a significant amount of money.
Yeah.
But there was no idea as to what the person donated for, what if they had any desire of what sort of bushes or anything, as I recall. And they were hoping to raise a little bit more to do sort of where the trailers are now, the offices. Let's ask him about that, because I don't recall that there was really that much nothing finalized.
Right. Oh yeah, it's long way to be finalized. The last thing to be done.
Yeah.
Probably won't be done when the library opens, but several different areas that he had on the plot plan of the property, of areas that would have different types of plantings or people funding it, or so that it would have very distinct pieces of this that they're working on. So, but Andy seemed very enthusiastic about, you know, what was being discussed. So I trust him, and, you know, he'll definitely share with us when more is available, but I'll ask that as well as an update from him.
Great. Thank you.
I will be following up with Andy tomorrow. He and I corresponded briefly today just about the RFP process. So I'll fill him in on what transpired tonight and the anticipated timeline for having the plans ready so that we can pull that RFP together in short order and get out to bid. Woohoo! Doesn't seem real, does it? It's been so long.
That'll be a great day.
Working on this project. When did we start? Was it 10 years ago?
I was still in high school.
Yeah. It has been at least 2, right? If not.
Oh, just since we got town approval, it's been almost 2.
Yeah.
2 in May.
It's got a good 4 years, going on 5.
Yeah, but we were even talking about it longer than that.
I'm talking about time we had Nick involved.
Yeah, Nick was involved 4 or 5 years ago, and we were, you know, talking about it before then too. So,
Yes.
Just real quickly about the trees. How do you want me to respond back to Bob?
oh yeah, we should have brought that up while Jeff was there. I will. You sent me that, right? That was in the
because what
text.
I think I sent it to everybody, but
Okay.
the main
I got it.
thing that I want everybody to understand is that they don't do the planting of the trees. He would recommend several different people, but he also said if this is for the town, more likely than not, DPW can do this because most towns that he deals with, the towns do it. They have the equipment. So
Yeah, that was
um,
part of what we said with the in-kind services, that they would do stuff like that.
and that's kind of, I said, well, I think maybe that's one of the things that we were thinking about. I did not know the specifics. So he just gave me pricing for the actual trees. And then,
So it was like 2,300 if memory serves me.
That's
correct.
correct.
and
2,300 change.
Maybe 15.
6 trees?
it's like
360.
360-ish. Most of the trees are about the same price because I said, does it matter if we get 2 red oaks and 1 white oak, or and that is very almost immaterial. It's not going to make a big difference on one variety to the next. I gave him the list of trees that was in the report that Bill had sent around to us, that I think that what's his name? He just said did for us.
Nick.
Nick. Yep.
So you've got a listing of the prices for the various trees. So what we will want in our plan is the actual trees that we want to have. So maybe we can just take a few minutes now to
It
make that
didn't
decision.
really specify what sort of, I mean, they have like the Latin genus, but I didn't say like maple, oak, whatever.
Oh, if I put on that, because I tried 3 times to send a copy of a picture that you sent to us and it kept not going through. So I ended up just typing the names, red oak and then Veracruz, whatever, Alba. Is that all that?
Well, we'll want to know, something that the layman can understand.
Wait just a
not the
second.
not the Latin names.
The
Let me
bottom
get
one I
the-
see, it says black oak, but the other ones are like, I don't know what a Quercus rubera is.
I can tell you if you give me 1 second to get
One
to.
of them's a Christmas tree.
Yeah, we need
One's
to
a
have
con.
that.
Yeah, we got that.
I hate to give up the Festivus tree, but
Glad to see that go.
John is not wanting that tree ever back. They look pretty at night.
I've got to get the email address again for the lady that's at the rec department, because I sent her an email and it bounced back to me. I had it apparently incorrectly. But I was talking to the guys from the cemetery and parks department who put it up, and he said, "Oh yeah, she's planning on doing a lot more next year. She's gonna really go all out tomorrow next year." And I thought, well, we could have a say in this.
Yeah.
I think she operates like, I'll just do whatever I want. And I realize it's temporary, but still it's up there for 2 months, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there needs to be a little discussion with the rec department on what's appropriate and what isn't.
Well,
I like the name of the first tree here on the list, John, Frank Jr.
Frank Jr.
Okay, so if you want the English for the Latin, Acer rubrum is red maple.
Oh,
Acer,
one red maple.
That's the first one.
Acer,
Hold on 1 second.
Acer,
Okay, go ahead.
Acer sacrum is sugar, like saccharin,
Sugar maple.
sugar maple.
Yeah.
Quercus rubra is red oak.
Red oak. I knew it was red.
So
something.
Quercus, if that's not, is
That's always good to be white oak.
Quercus alba is white oak. Quercus velutina is black oak. And I don't know if he did a Quercus, I think it's bicolor, is a swamp white oak.
So he's got 6, and
It's too many.
yeah, because we were only going to do 6, including the Christmas tree. We're just replacing what we had.
I don't think, it's like we can pick and choose because the prices are just almost the same. And I did say, 6 trees, including the Christmas tree, evergreen Christmas tree, Christmas type tree. So, if it's one Christmas tree and 5 of the others, it's
What
3
is the name that we can use other than Christmas tree? That will show what we want.
evergreen.
The Fraser.
Yeah.
Fraser, like a Fraser fir or something.
Conifer.
Fraser fir, I like those.
Blue spruce. I'd rather have a blue spruce.
Or
Those
a
are
blue
probably
spruce.
expensive.
They're pretty too.
And also, he agreed. I talked to him a little bit about, the sizes of the trees, and he said when you get them to the 2 to 3 inch caliper, those actually grow faster. Not only
Right.
did they do better, they grow faster. If you get a bigger tree, the growth is much slower. So you're going to get a better growth spurt out of the
And that's how we'd order it. We'd say 2 to 3 inches. And
right.
okay. All right.
Did they happen to say anything about, for the deciduous trees, anything about, what look nice in the fall? What
Let me get
colors-
back to my little.
The
The
maples
leaves are-
give you the most color. Oaks
This is in the
are more
the
muted.
report that you sent to us, and that's how I got all this information. The red maple has best known for the color. The sugar maple is known for bright orange. The red oak, let's see, I cut off a lot of which so I can't see it. The black oak, the white oak, the swamp oak going down is less and less color. The swamp oak has tendency towards slightly less vibrant colors. The white oak's going to be a little bit more. The black oak is a little bit more. So I think all of these were picked by Nick because they do offer nice color, and they also are not invasive. They have survivability.
All right, so we'll scrap the swamp oak since it's the least color, and then we could have the other 5 and the
Yeah, because
blue
we
spruce or Fraser fir.
put too much anyway.
All right. Well, that sounds good. I will let
Okay.
Jeff know that so that can be included as well.
And the placement, I guess we just decide, or whoever's planning them decides. I don't know that it really matters, or one goes over the next.
I don't
When they
think we have to
ultimately get
It does
planted.
matter where they go, but we can, I would assume we could do that a little bit later.
Other than, the Christmas tree obviously matters a lot, but
Well, we could say, in the vicinity of where the trees that we lost were.
right.
Yeah, we
Um,
might want to plant them slightly further away from the
walkway.
path.
Yes.
Yes,
We learned
definitely.
our lesson.
Yeah,
Actually, it wasn't our lesson to learn. It's whoever did it
Yeah.
originally.
I mean,
Right. Well, other than the one that was right at the intersection of the 2 walkways, the other ones that came down, most of them were set off from the pathway anyways.
Yeah.
The smaller trees.
the smaller ones, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'll just say that in terms of authorizing or whatever purchase of these, what kind of a timetable do you think we have on that, so I can let him know that?
Well, it would be the general contractor that would be responsible for ordering the trees. They would have to, do it within the scope of their project. I would think that would be towards the end, though, after they've gotten the construction.
Okay,
mostly
so
done.
this, because I kept telling him this is coming from the town of Grafton, so the town isn't buying them. It's the general contractor's buying them that's using within their contract.
It's a contractor that we hire, right? We're going to hire
Okay.
a general contractor, and they may even subcontract that out to somebody else. But
Okay.
nonetheless, it's still a town project,
But we would specify the trees that we want. That's
right? That's why we want to put them out up front so that we have say over what they're going to put in.
so basically all you were trying to get was a price, a dollar amount
Trying
for the
to
trees.
Type and size too.
yeah, size and recommendation and size confirmation that 2 to 3 was the way to go, how much those would cost, and then for us to figure out where we wanted to put them. And I think pretty much in the vicinity of where the trees that came down.
So there's
last
no
year.
guarantee that the contractor will buy them from Weston is what I'm trying to,
Right.
okay.
Correct.
So I'll
If it's
just
only
say,
$2,200, do we have to, can the town just buy them direct?
yeah,
We could do it separately and not have it be part of it at all. And do it after they're done with their work and then,
well, to
Come
me,
in.
that's, since that, if the town's planting them, that would be a cleaner, you don't have them buying them, then the town,
Yeah.
it wouldn't even be part of their contract.
Because they're just going to mark them up anyway.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean, with 25% or more off of,
yeah. And the amount is such that you don't have to do public bidding with it. It's below the threshold.
Yeah.
We would want to do our due diligence to make sure we're not, being gouged, but I don't expect that we are, but
okay.
it is
Oh, you could call
taxpayer money. So,
Bigelow, there's a couple others.
We should probably have some verbiage in the request for quotation about the location, because, we are going to have electrical conduit underground. We're going to have the sprinkler systems in there. So we probably just have, the contractor should know that he's going to have to seek guidance from like Paul Canoia and us, and the guys from the Parks Department who put the sprinkler system in. Of course, that's probably not very expensive if we have to reroute it. It's just plastic pipe and so forth. But so there just should be, when it comes time to plant the trees, he needs to talk to us before he does it, I guess is what I want to say.
but what we're saying is it's going to be us doing the planning. It'll be
That
the
Paul
town.
would plant them.
The
Yeah.
town will do it. So,
Oh, I see. Okay.
so we'll have complete control over it. So we don't have to worry about that. And we'll just do it after the rest of the stuff is done. While the grass is growing, can do it.
Sounds
Okay,
good.
so I'll just say, I'll be in touch later this spring or something, just kind of real. And then also I'll try to find another nursery to get another set of numbers.
That'd be great. And I'll run that by Andy too, just that concept to make sure that he doesn't see anything wrong with that approach.
I did copy Paul Canoyer, I believe, on the price list for the trees. I don't know if I said on it, you're planting them, but I did send that to him too.
Thank you for doing that.
Sure.
Yeah, you said in the email, Bob indicated that DPW might have the equipment to plant the trees.
Okay. I kind of thought I did. So I figured I'd get an immediate, I don't think so, if that's a problem.
Well, he's done for the day by 4:47 when you sent it, so maybe he hasn't ready yet.
Okay.
But anyway,
All right.
anything else?
Oh, I think it was a good meeting. Get a lot done.
Yes, and we're gonna meet on Sunday at 1.
Sunday at
1:00.
1 at the Unitarian Church. Sounds good.
Be there at 10 if you want to go to church.
What's that, John?
I was being smart.
With
I said, be there
COVID,
at
I'm
10
trying
if
to
you wanna
avoid
go to church.
being in large groups. All right.
All right.
Well, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
We
moved.
got 8:56.
Second,
Who motioned?
John, I made the
John
motion.
S., John M. Second. I'm assuming it's unanimous.